with State Auditor Hector Balderas. We're talking to him about his current position, and you're applying for Attorney General. We're going to be on the ballot next, so you have made up your mind there. Pretty tough office, a lot bigger office.
Bigger office, very important office, and yeah, you know, I feel like I'm applying to the citizens of New Mexico for a very important job.
Yeah, and I think your background with, you know, being, you work for the DA's office, right?
Yeah, I got my career start right down in downtown Albuquerque in a cubicle, making $15 an hour as a line prosecutor, prosecuting DWIs and domestic violence for Kerry Brandenburg.
Kerry Brandenburg, that's right.
Yeah.
And then you ran for, became a representative, and then from there on. Attorney General's office has about, like we were talking earlier, about 80 to 90 lawyers, the largest law firm, deals with anything from, you know, criminal investigations, government accountability. So you're going to have your hands full there. I think when we talked to Gary King when he was here, Attorney General, I didn't realize how big it was till he started explaining everything. So what do you feel you bring to that office? I know you have a legal background there, you're a lawyer and stuff, and you understand legalities really well, and you understand policies really well. But then now you're dealing with the prosecution side of things, so to speak, and you're looking out for New Mexicans in that sense there.
Well, you know, I'm excited. I think professionally speaking, my experience is diverse. I, you know, have been a state auditor, so I've looked under the hood of government in many ways, and sometimes it's pretty, sometimes it's ugly. And I've made law in New Mexico, and also I have been a prosecutor, and I've been a defense attorney, and so I've seen the criminal justice system at work in New Mexico. But I'm excited to bring my personal experience, my life experience, my personal struggles in northern New Mexico, because I think it gives me a lens to be very motivated to use the office of the Attorney General both as a shield and a sword to really protect New Mexico families, whether it's child abuse, whether it's protecting someone's job who's being mistreated in the work environment, and most importantly, whether it's trying to make government work better, being the lawyer for state agencies, making federal government work better for the taxpayers. I'm excited because that job has a lot of challenges, but it has a lot of tools to really advance New Mexico, both make a stronger economy in New Mexico, but most importantly, make New Mexico a safer place. And you know, we're struggling right now, whether it's teenage pregnancies, whether it's child abuse, whether it's deaths and DWIs. We also suffer here in New Mexico, and the Attorney General can be a very strong leader. So I'm excited.
I think it's pretty exciting. I'm sure it's a very exciting thing for you. You're going for. When I was talking to Attorney General Gary King, he was mentioned he did. We're talking about the Mortgage Resettlement Act, the Settlement Act, when they settled with the large mortgage companies there. That happened during his administration and stuff. Most people, I think, need to know that you have the legal background. I think you do. So I think you bring that, and then your experience with the state auditor's office, dealing with numbers and figures and things of that sort. I think that is probably key when it comes to the Attorney General. Was there anything specific that stands out to you as far as the issues for New Mexico that you think you would be dealing with coming into that office were you to be elected?
Sure. I mean, I think the exciting thing about the Attorney General is it's got what's called a state's interest doctrine, which basically means that if the Attorney General feels it's in the state's interest or in the people's interest, the Attorney General then can begin to either investigate or litigate. And there's a lot of great issues that the Attorney General can be a leader on. You know, for me, rural New Mexico right now is struggling in northern New Mexico with the meth epidemic and with the drug problem. And if, for example, Rio Arriba doesn't have enough drug treatment beds. That's a small example of where the Attorney General can take a leadership role and really hold the federal government accountable. And if we're not able to shake up resources for that community, if we're not able to coordinate law enforcement in a better way, we could actually ultimately go all the way to the Supreme Court and litigate on behalf of the people in New Mexico that they're not receiving enough protections to combat the drug problem. So that's one small example. I mean, I've got numerous, the areas of education. If some of our students are failing in our schools and the Attorney General feels that the schools are failing and the political systems are not responding, the Attorney General can take a leadership role in the education reform debate. So those are two examples in public safety and education where I'm going to use the best lawyers in New Mexico to really make sure that we're bringing about good reforms. And that's the kind of experience that I learned, that sense of urgency as a state auditor, that you have to be proactive. I'm not going to be an Attorney General that waits for the complaints to come to my door. We are going to be studying where the risks are. We're going to be studying data, and we're going to make sure that we're out in the communities fighting and protecting New Mexicans.
Attorney General's office get about 3,000 complaints a year from general public. So I think that office is really the front line for New Mexicans. I mean, when it comes to Consumer Protection Acts and all that, when you're talking about things that like a lot of the lenders that were lending out money, the foreclosures that happened. When you hear this mortgage settlement thing, there was individuals that are trying to prey on these the homeowners that are getting the settlement. They're actually getting, they're calling them and asking them to pay a fee so they can get that, and that's illegal for them to do that. These are the things I think general public deals with. They have no protection unless the Attorney General intervenes in there and protects them on a day-to-day basis. We'll move on a little bit to this. You mentioned Supreme Court, and you may have to, as an Attorney General, if you're in that office, you may have to deal with the Supreme Court, because the current Attorney General dealt with that regarding water rights, when the Southern District, Irrigation District, made an agreement with Texas, and they made a specific kind of an agreement to oversupply in some ways, and that's what the Attorney General felt. So the Attorney General's office sued the Compliance Bureau of Compliance, and then Texas went to Supreme Court and filed a petition there. So I think the future problems regarding water are something you're going to be dealing with, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm already researching to see whether or not, I mean, one of the things as state auditor I realize is that part of New Mexico's challenge isn't just about fighting the good fight. We have to modernize our systems of government. And just like the state auditor has been underfunded, and I've been trying to change that culture with the legislature, I believe that it's time that the Attorney General needs a Solicitor General to fight these battles in the Supreme Court. And the water litigation is here to stay. And it seems like I'll probably be asking the legislature to fund a Solicitor General to fight this water litigation, because I think it's here to stay.
I think so. You know, they filed the petition. I mean, they have the right to. Texas has the right to. But I think the future problems are not going to go away, because they're digging a lot of wells on our border there with Texas, and you know, we have to prove, you know, that we need the water. They don't. Right. You know, they have a different kind of a law there. So I think I'm sure anyone that gets in that office is going to deal with the water, and we care a lot about water issues in the state of New Mexico, I think. So we'll take a short break. We'll come back. The 7 minutes go by really quick.
Very fast.
Very fast. So we'll come back and we'll talk about a little bit of some of the other issues, where you grew up and things like that, okay? We'll take a short break. We'll be back with State Auditor Hector Balderas.